Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and you've read the title by now. I know what you're here for, you know what you're here for. You want to find out whether or not WWE 2K22 is better than WWE 2K20, the absolute skip-fire abomination that everyone wishes could be buried alongside E.T. for the Atari. And yes, I have good news for you. It is better than that game, but that is the wrong question. We should be asking, is this game better than 2K19? And it is. Just. Oh yeah, and before we kick off with this review, the online portion wasn't actually live when I got my review copies, so I haven't played any of that. So fingers crossed, the netcode stands up to all the punishment it's about to get on day one. Interested to know more? Well, let's have a chat, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and this is our review, even though I'm pointing both thumbs at me, of WWE 2K22. The new grapple system actually works. Okay, so a lot has changed with this game when it comes to the moment-to-moment gameplay. And while the devs will be telling you that they have reworked this system from the ground up, rebuilt it in its brand new, gloriously golden visage, that's not entirely true. It's more of a retooling than anything else. But what they have presented is something that is really bloody good. Gone are the supremely stiff controls of the past, the overtly gimmicky mini-games, and the absolutely pathetic stamina system that would see your wrestler gas out in seconds. Although maybe we should see that return if you're doing like a Legends versus Legends match, or just anyone who was on the coke in the 80s. And in its place we have a system that feels robust, rewards timing, patience, and also knowing when to cool off on the offensive. Stringing together light and heavy attacks to form combo chains allows players to conduct a symphony of pain, and being able to cap off these with a huge heavy grapple can make for some truly exciting moments, as can being on the receiving end but dodging at just the right moment and then tackling your opponent to the floor. It all feels very immediate, incredibly hard-hitting, and pushes this arcade mentality that so many were clamoring for. And best of all, thanks to the new lighting and graphical engine, it means that there's like cinematic shots that come out of nowhere and you're like, damn, that looks good, that looks really good. However, there are of course some issues here and there. The guessing game combo breaker, in which you must guess whether your opponent is going to use a light or heavy attack in the combo chain in order to escape, is good in theory, but in practice, it's not actually very clear when the window for the input opens. And because the game mentions that more than one press will void your escape attempt, it can be confusing to see your superstar getting annihilated over and over, all the while you can do nothing to help them for fear of cancelling your previous button press. And alongside this, blocking and dodge moves seem to be much less effective than they first appear, because why would I bother doing the blocking or dodging when I can just reverse your move? It's a lot simpler, it's actually telegraphed on screen, and it also allows me to reverse a move, meaning that they are open for my attack. Still, the overall changes to gameplay are very welcome, and it is more than good enough to want this to be the status quo going forward. Bugs, but less of them. Now, I know that we shouldn't ever be praising a AAA game for releasing with minimal amounts of bugs, but that is the weird case that we find ourselves in today, because as we all remember, WWE 2K20, wow, that was just like a masterclass on how not to make a game. And this, by comparison, is very, very good. Now, there are still some bugs here and there. You'll sometimes have issues with the ring ropes. You'll have collision detection and some clipping through objects, and hair just does whatever it wants every now and again. But for the most part, thanks to the new graphical overhaul that the game has gone through, the game is in a much better shape than pretty much any of its predecessors. So yes, there are definitely bugs here, but I will praise it for having less bugs than the prior game. My Rise mode is fun, if terribly scripted. Clocking in at over 50, yes, that's right, 50 hours, and also containing 1,000 permutations for different match types and stipulations, My Rise mode is definitely one that is going to be clamoring for your time when you're playing this game. And in all honesty, it is the most fun outside of the brilliantly crafted Rey Mysterio showcase, which I will detail in a minute, as here you can watch your chosen freak of the week climb to the tops of superstardom. For me, I decided to create a wrestler that spoke of the current generation of superstars, and the fact that he was a very tall, thin, pale, goblin-like creature who wore a crown and a robe and presented a sort of air of royalty, while at the same time having a mouth full of teeth that looked like it was straight out of the big British Book of Smiles. That was fun. Oh yeah, and a Jimmy Neutron haircut. He was a right weirdo, but he was going to the top. And he was doing so by making selfish choices and screwing over everyone in the pursuit of WWE Gold. And while I absolutely loved all the choices offered to the player in this mode, there was one huge issue holding this back from being a mode that I truly connected with. That is the writing. Because this is shite. It's so bad. Outside of Drew Gulak giving the tutorial performance of his life, almost every other voice actor sounds like they're being held at gunpoint to deliver their lines. You can almost hear Vince snarling as he does so. You better get all of the buzzwords that we use in every single line of dialogue. It means that the dialogue just flows with all of the consistency of spoiled milk. Please, pass another lump. To be fair, at least it's representative of the product that you're watching week to week, but man, that does not make swallowing all of this tripe any easier. So the presentation of this mode is on point, the storylines themselves are actually really good, as are the amount of them, the customization that you can have. Like, no two playthroughs will be the same, very few can actually tout that as a line and mean it. But stitching it together is dialogue just made of ropey piss. But if you're looking for a story to truly connect with, then I suggest you play the Rey Mysterio Showcase because it is absolutely brilliant. I'm in love with this mode. I love Rey Mysterio. As a kid, it was him, Jeff Hardy, my two favorite wrestlers growing up. Watching his rise through WCW, going through all of the trials and tribulations, reaching the top of the mountain and trying to hold desperately onto the gold even though he was booked into the ground. It's a really, really engaging story. And the fact that they've got loads of clips from Rey speaking, genuinely speaking, not just reading off of a script, about how it felt in that moment to be, just make it out of a really life or death situation. It does connect you to that story really, really well. I also love the fact that as you're wrestling, it just then seamlessly cuts into real-life footage from the WWE archives. I know that they've done that before, but here it just feels so slick. And your first match against Eddie Guerrero is so stupendously good. I've replayed it 3 times just to make sure that I can lock all of the checkpoint things. This mode needs more. We need more of this. I wish the whole game could be this. It's that good. But yeah, it's here, and it's one of the best they've ever done. Create anything. Okay, so I know that it sounds like I'm going to be milking a dead horse at this point, and do not ever tell me that that is the wrong expression, because you know exactly what I mean when I say it. But the Create A modes from the 2K games, they are something else. And here, to borrow a JR phrase, my God! You could spend literally hours customizing your characters from head to toe before then just diving into their movesets and entrances. And with the new graphical overhaul comes a slew of new options, all of which look far superior to anything that we've seen prior. Now, it's rare for a customization suite to leave me feeling lost, but that is exactly where I found myself with 2K22, just looking upon reams and reams of choices and wanting all of them for my current monster mash of a wrestler. And thankfully for those who are equally overwhelmed by choice, there is actually a customization wizard that can sometimes pop up and just say, hey, look, do you want to streamline all of this? Let's just make a wrestler and get him out the door as quickly as possible. And I, for one, actually really appreciate this. Now, experimentation has always been the lifeblood of this franchise, and it looks like the devs have delivered this in spades. So that is fantastic. Now, I'm sure that somebody will find the limitations to the Create a Wrestler or just the Create A Anything suite down the line, but at the moment, with literally hundreds of layers and hundreds of items that you can add on, it seems like there's going to be a lot that's going to have to push this to its limits. GM mode is back with less. Yeah, so GM mode has been on the must-return requests feature list for the WWE 2K series for, well, back since when I actually used to have hair. And each year, every single year, up until this one, we've had to deal with the crushing disappointment that we're not going to get it. Well, this time we have got it. It is back. Is it any good? It's a 50-50. But you see, the new card system, which allows you to use a special power in order to get the edge up on your opponent, is a brilliant addition. And the ability to hire a WWE legend for free or connect with your superstar to help them recover quicker really can swing things on a moment's notice. However, while the granularity exists in the front end, GM mode ultimately fails to live up to expectations by being ridiculously bare bones when it comes to its moment-to-moment gameplay. Lasting only one in-game year, only allowing players to make 3 matches and 2 promo slots per show, not allowing for tag championships and skipping out a ton of match stipulations really hampers the whole you're in control vibe that is meant to be given off by this mode, as does effectively being told by the game that wrestler types like Powerhouse and High Flyer were more important in match reception than the wrestlers themselves. And what I mean by this is that apparently, according to the game, fans aren't going to be swayed by the likes of Brock Lesnar taking on Roman Reigns because they might share a sort of archetype. They want to see David versus Goliath. They would rather see that rather than like actual money drawers. It's a very weird thing to get your head around. It's like the game is just going, no, statistically, this is what you should be doing. But don't get me wrong, what's in place here does feel worthwhile, and I really hope that this is the foundation on which the true experience is built upon. But as it stands, this is just a fun distraction at best, rather than the fully customizable experience that many will be hoping for. And I just want to say right here, place your bets now as to who thinks that an add-on DLC mode is going to expand and add in all of the features that I've just said are missing here. My faction is utterly pointless. So here we are, the real moneymaker, and I do mean that literally, of WWE 2K22, the My Faction mode, which allows you to create, in theory, a stable of wrestlers and then take them around the world and competing in challenges and earning more points with which to upgrade your own mini roster and get them into the fighting fit shape that you know they are. But here's the problem. This is a gameplay loop as transparent as its clear desire to hoover up the change out of your wallet through the purchase of randomized packs that offer boosts and new wrestlers to your pool. That's right, baby, microtransactions. However, despite this, the one thing that many didn't see coming was the fact that this game is entirely single player, which in turn begs the very burning question, what is the long-term point of this mode? The one saving grace to the utter torrid wasteland of pay-for players that is Ultimate Team from the FIFA series is that at least you can take your freshly minted group on a world tour against other players, or at least trade cards with them. But here, what's the point? To pay for a group that I can't even show off to my friends? Now, admittedly, 2K has been quick to point out that all of the packs here can be earned and paid for by completing in-game challenges and that you'll never need to shell out a dime, but that's hardly a plus when the endgame of the mode itself is bereft of direction. So in short, it is a mode that works, admittedly has the potential to be fun, but unfortunately has constrained itself so much that it's just existing in a vacuum of its own wafty farts. The game already feels out of date. Now, as we all know, the wrestling industry moves at a mile a minute, and it can be incredibly hard just to keep up to date with the week-to-week product. I mean, you've got new faces joining, you've got old faces leaving, jumping ship and joining other companies, and you've just got this whole absolute clusterfuck of just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So imagine what that's like trying to program a video game months behind what's actually happening on screen right now. You would pull your hair out. Therefore, do not go into this expecting to see WWE as it is now, as this is very much WWE then and will be a problem forever if 2K doesn't look to adopt a more reactive process. Costumes have changed, current tag teams are non-existent, and gimmicks are almost a cycle behind, all of which actively ages the game sporting the moniker of this year. However, even more jarring than the greatest tag team ever, the Dirty Dogs, being split up on this roster and having commentary actively have dialogue that says how much they hate each other, very, very weird, is the fact that over 30 wrestlers that are on this roster are no longer with the company, and some are with AEW. Several huge names like Keith Lee, Murphy, and Kyle O'Reilly are now working for the competition, so yeah, it is pretty jarring to see them here. So unless 2K actually changes its policy on how to update these by, I don't know, releasing one game as a platform and then just yearly updating it, or maybe even doing it every 6 months or so, that we get fresh costumes, fresh attires, fresh everything, maybe at a small price. I'm writing this for you, mate. There's money on the table that you're just passing up, but no, obviously it's much more cost-effective and easier to print money when you've got a yearly annual franchise. I know that deep down, but that's how you'd fix it. So it's still a problem until you do so. But this is the thing. I know what you're probably thinking by now. Jules, you have been ragging on this game a lot, but I actually have to say, I had a lot of fun with this game. I'm going to continue playing this game. I really like the changes in some areas, like the graphics, the lighting, the sound, the commentary's actually even been done up as well. I love the fact that the creator everything suites are brilliant. I love the fact that the showcase with Rey Mysterio is one of the best they've ever done. I love that the gameplay, when you're actually in the ring, is really, really fun. Yes, it does take a while to get used to compared to the other games, but it felt like I had more control than ever over what's going on. I really enjoy it. I just don't like the fact that it's wrapped around microtransactions and all of this sort of oily practices that the WWE are pushing themselves. Like, the issues that I have are prevalent in the actual WWE. It's the ridiculously bad scripting. It's the awful use of just getting buzzwords across all the time. So yeah, it's those aspects that pull down an otherwise brilliant game. Answering the question that I posed before, Is WWE better than 2K20? Yes, by an absolute landslide. Is it better than 2K19? Yes, just. So it gets a recommendation from me if you're a WWE fan, which I know a lot of you are. So, looks like things are going back to the good times again, and fingers crossed we can keep it that way, right? So there you go, my friends. That was my review of WWE 2K22. A good game marred by some bad elements. I still think it's worth a play. I still think it's worth a recommendation. I don't think it's worth the ludicrous asking price that the NWO Legacy Pack, or whatever it's got, is coming out with now. But still, it's definitely a game that is far, far better than most of its predecessors, so that's good. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I will be streaming this game. So come check that out. Every Wednesdays I'll be doing that. We'll create a character together and we'll take them on the road to superstardom. It'll be fantastic fun. But yeah, before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you treat yourself with love and respect, my friend, because at the end of the day, that is all I want from you. I want to provide some entertaining videos. I want to provide my thoughts on the latest games coming out. But most of all, I just want to make sure that you are treating yourself fairly, both mentally and spiritually, and physically, because you deserve the best things in life, all right? Don't let anyone else or anything else tell you otherwise, right? Go out there and smash it. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.